Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great, having fun in different ways with your kids. And welcome to Thoughts to Strokes by Rekha Virtual Art Camp. This is the fourth recorded sessions which was planned, and this is going to be on the tangle patterns. Okay, so very quickly I will give you a quick insight about what are these tangle patterns. So these days everybody is very fond of, become highly fond of the Zentangle art. So basically filling any particular shape with repetitive patterns is called as the Zentangle pattern. That is the simplest explanation that we can give. So a repetitive pattern done in any space, like it can be an animal drawing, or a scenery, a landscape. It can be any form of painting, but the specific shapes in that painting or drawing have been filled with repetitive patterns, and it becomes a Zentangle painting or a drawing. Okay, so now these repetitive patterns that are there, those repetitive patterns are referred to as the tangles. Okay, so we do it as the Zen number of times, that is n number of times, infinite number of times. That's why they are referred to as Zentangles. Okay, so it also gives a tangled effect when you are repeating it. It gives an effect of a tangling. So that is also a reason why they are referred to as the tangle patterns. Okay, so as mentioned in the schedule, I am going to take you through very simple 10 patterns which you already can see on the screen. I have made one set of pattern here, so that while starting itself you know what my aim or goal is. Okay, I thought if somebody wants to try out along with me, it will be easier for them to have a reference picture. So that's why I have put it along here, so that it is easier to follow with me. Okay, and this is going to be a very quick video because there's I'm going to use just one black pen. Okay, so these are micron pens that I am using, which I have already shown you in my earlier sessions also, in the live sessions. So those of you who do not have these micron pens, you can use any thin nibbed pen, even the gel pens, but I would suggest a gel pen which is not very leaky at its tip. Okay, some of the gel pens are like, you know, they ooze out ink like anything, so those wouldn't be so good, because the pattern wouldn't be clear enough if it is oozing out a lot of ink. Okay, so something which is which dries immediately after you write it, so as quickly as possible. So that is good enough for this. So these are Stabilo pens or the fine liners. So these also are very good to create the Zentangle patterns. Okay, so now I will quickly take you through. So while I'm doing it, I will tell you where all you can use this and how you can use this. Okay, so very quickly we will start with the first pattern. These are very simple patterns that I have chosen so that even the kids can make it. So first we will do the filling, and then we will do the border. That is always better. You know, it gives a very good result at the end. Okay, so if you want to do the border first and then do the filling also, there's no hard and fast rule that you have to go, but always doing the border at the end will give you a finer touch. Okay, so now I have chosen 0.8 nib, so something like a little thicker a nib for the these partitions that we make, and the inner filling is done with a little thinner pen. Okay, so that is the only distinction. So if you have two pens, use the thinner one for the filling, use the thicker one for these distinctions that we are making. Okay, so draw a square first, squares like this first when you are practicing the patterns, and you can draw the same pattern in any shapes per se. It can be any random shape, and you just first draw your slant lines like this, okay, parallel to each other. Okay, so when you look at the pattern itself, it is pretty much clear what exactly has to be done. I am just going to take you through very few tips that you need to get a good symmetric and proper result in the Zentangles. Okay, now another very important thing is, throughout the video I am not going to be using a scale, because while I am using this scale it might be a little confusing in the video. So please use a scale for more symmetric outlook. Okay, so after we have drawn the slant lines like this, I am going to form the diamond shapes. Okay, so I am just going to draw the slant lines on the other way. So we have first drawn the slant lines this in this orientation. Now we are drawing the slant lines on the other side, or the other orientation. Okay, opposite orientation. Okay, so as symmetric as possible. So Zentangles, the main important thing is, as symmetrical they are, they look, the beauty comes out because of the symmetry. Okay, so though I have not used any measurement here, you can see that almost everything looks symmetrical. So now what we are going to do is to fill it. Each of the I am first going to select this particular the second line, okay, because this is the complete diamond, and then I will show how to fill in these half partial diamonds that are formed. Okay, so now these diamonds I am going to diagonally form a concave and a convex arc like this. Okay, and on the right hand side I will just go on parallelly filling this. Okay, on the left hand side I will go on making these parallel patterns like this. Okay, and the same holds good here also. So now the tip here is, or the main thing that you have to keep in mind is, when you're making the pattern, make sure every curve starts from this tip. Okay, so what happens is, without your notice, the ends become a little darker. Okay, and that gives a very nice touch to the pattern. Okay, so can you see that every time I am trying to start from this end? Okay, so this way you're going to fill out all the diamonds. Okay, so even the whatever is the shape that is formed, whether it is like even the cut diamonds, make sure that you are making the center properly. Okay, so that is what is the key to bring out the symmetry. Okay, so here I can make see the center. So I am going to start from here. So just make parallel patterns. Okay, again here also. So just imagine if you cut, how will it be, and then form your patterns. Okay, so all you have to do is just fill them in the same way. And once you have found that rhythm, the entire process is going to be very, very meditative, very peaceful, and most importantly, subconsciously you will get entrapped in this pattern. You're not going to think about anything else. All your concentration will be on the fact that I have to get it in the same way, I have to draw it in the same symmetry, same pattern has to result. Okay, so unknowingly you're going to be meditating while drawing this. Okay, so I think I will finish this up and we will quickly move to the next one. Okay, so this is how it will look once it is done. So now we will quickly make the borders for it. Okay, so in Zentangles, again one more important thing is the distinction of the shapes. So when you are going to make more clearer shapes, the patterns become more defined. Okay, even the inner distinctions, you can make another lining on it, making them a little more darker. So this gives more definition to your pattern. Okay, can you see? So now next one is just the squares. This basically gives a little bit of puffy finish, like a puff. Now then this one is, you can use it for the flowers, or you can also use it for the fish motifs, to fill in the body of the fish, or the filling the body of the birds. It's very nice, and these are the things that you can use it for. Okay, so now once your smaller squares are done, we are going to make a small arc here, fill in that arc. Okay, so I'll probably use the same one to fill the arcs. So I've chosen the right upper right corner to make the arc. So you can make the same design with the lower arc, with the left side arc, left side upper arc. So you that is up to you. So this design can give you 4 different variations. So those of you who are into henna or mehendi designing would already be aware of this design. This is a very common mehendi design that everybody applies. Okay. So just forming the arc like this and fill it, and then subsequently you're going to just make parallel lines across it. Okay, very symmetrically till the end, just parallel to the arc shape. The curves have to be properly done, exactly parallel to each other. Okay, so I'm done with this. Now again I'm going to darken the borders to complete the pattern. So now you might ask what you're going to do with these designs by learning these designs. Okay, so I think everybody would know some kind of basic drawing, like just drawing a house, a hill, a river. You know, these are the things that we draw back in our school. Okay, so you can actually draw such simple designs, and in each of the designs you can just draw these patterns and just check for yourself. Such a beautiful drawing would be created out of it. Okay, do check, do try, and let me know what was the result. Okay, and you will be amazed. And for specifically, if you have colored pens, the fine liners, much better. You will see an amazing result after you use these patterns and create something. Okay, in the session I will definitely show you some of the creations that I have made, so that you get a reference. So the next one, we are going to create a wave effect. So I'm just going to something like a wave. Okay, I'm creating a distinction here. Instead of straight lines, I have drawn wavy lines here, and I have given a double lining. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to give the wave effect. Now how are we going to do this? We are going to have convex and concave arcs. You don't have to worry if you don't understand these terminologies. So I am going to use the lower curve here and the upper curve here. So that gives the effect of a wave. So just go on writing the same curve again and again. Just make sure they are parallel to each other. That means when I say parallel again, I mean to say that the gap between one curve and the other curve, or one line and the other line, is approximately same. Okay, so now the other way round. I am forming the curve the other way round. So when I finish this, it will almost look like a wave, like you can see here. Okay, again now alternatively we will again go back to the same curve what we had done here. So when you divide your space into distinctions with such waves, so each of them alternatively you will make these curves, the lower facing curve and the upper facing curve. So when in your drawing you have something like water, free flowing river, or you're showing the sea waves, this is a very good pattern to use in such a drawing. Okay, it is also a very good pattern to show the 3D effect. Okay, good enough. You can darken these splits as well. Now moving on to the next one again. So this is a very interesting and my favorite pattern. This is like a square spiral. Okay, so now what you can do is for your benefit, you can first mark it with a pencil, the squares. Okay, so we will just mark smaller squares, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so this is for your benefit. You can erase it later on. Okay, like this. Okay, Now what I'm going to do is just start from the here, 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 and now don't join this, spiral it up. Spiral it up, spiral it up, spiral it up, spiral it up. Like this. That's it. Again, start with a gap, little gap after this. Just run through the square that you have created. Do not join after the third side, and when you are taking the third side also, you are supposed to leave a little gap and then turn your third side. Then spiral it up, spiral it up, spiral. Go on spiraling. Again, leave a little gap. So it's almost like drawing a circle again, square again and again. But you're just not joining the sides, okay? And this gives an amazing effect. You can already see here, it looks very beautiful when you fill in the spaces with this. Okay. So the next one is it gives a triangular effect, okay, like you can see here, but the starting of this pattern is exactly like what we had done here for this pattern. So all we have to do is make the diamond shapes first. Okay, so I'm just going to draw slant lines like we had drawn there, okay, to create the diamonds. So drawing parallel slant lines in any space. So don't worry if it is not a square what you are making in your diagram. Just draw a slant line, and then opposite way you draw the slant lines again, and you will be able to create the diamonds like this. Okay, so make sure the gap that you have left in this pattern, this orientation, the same amount of gap you take even in this orientation. That's when you will get the symmetrical pattern. Now what I'm going to simply do is divide these diamonds into halves. Okay, so wherever this joining point is there, I'm going to divide them into half like this. Okay, it will be more clearer when I do it here. So this is the diamond. Okay, so I am dividing it into half. Okay, good enough. Just divide them into half. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to fill in the lower half. Okay, so fill in the lower half, fill the lower half. So this is the, if we had drawn the above diamond, this would have been the lower part. Okay, so leave the upper part here and the lower part of the diamond has to be colored. So if you are getting confused with lower or upper, just go on filling the alternate ones, alternate triangles. So these are very simple patterns. Once you understand the logic behind and you attain the symmetry, beautiful creations you can make. in your free time. And it's a very good way to engage the kids. A very positive effect they will have once they start Zentangling. Now the next one is very quite simple. So the next 5, all of them I have chosen very simple patterns. So just draw simple squares like this. Okay. Divide your spaces, and then the center, draw 3 lines. So we divide it into 3 and thicken the middle line, okay, the center line. So now the next one, we are going to form horizontal lines, 3 lines like this, and thicken the center line. Okay, now all we are going to do is alternatively draw vertical and horizontal lines and thicken the center line. Okay, I think something's wrong with this pen. Now again horizontal. So just alternatively you have to draw this pattern. Okay, so when I go to the next line, here I have vertical, so I am going to draw horizontal pattern and thicken the central line. Okay, so once you finish, just darken these lines to give more definition to your pattern and make the borders. Okay, now the next one is very interesting. It looks very different and just very thick slant lines, thicker than the ones we drew here, little thicker. Okay, slant lines. So the logic is same. So in the opposite way, I'm going to create the slant lines again. Okay, keeping the gap almost the same. Okay, now what I do is across each of these sides, I'm going to form an oval shape like this. Okay, so across all the sides, I'm going to create. So when you have such partial ones, do not join these ovals. Okay, so that's what will give the realistic picture. Okay, now again here, don't join the oval. I'm not joining it. Okay, here an oval, here an oval. Okay, so across each line we are going to draw curves around. Okay, and it looks so beautiful, like in a landscape or a scenery. You can make this thing like segregation between the land and the water, or if you can also make it this pattern for the dress, the gown of a lady, you know. And then in the spaces, just a small dot in the center, little darker. Okay, very easy, but it gives a beautiful effect. And then your borders. Okay. Now the next one is very simple. Just draw spiral circles next to each other. Make sure you're drawing it exactly next to each other, because these arcs that you can see, triangular arcs, those are very important. Okay, so just adjacent, no gaps between the circles, the center of the circle here also. So this will give me a diamond shape in between. Can you see here? So that's what we are going to fill in. Okay, so when I have these, I'm going to fill them up. So this will highlight my spirals. Can you see? It gives more definition. If I leave those gaps, my spirals won't be that clear. See? These diamonds. So this is how it will look. So your spirals will be highlighted once you fill the gaps. Okay. Next one is very interesting. Just draw random shapes like this, curves. Okay, not the lines. Just randomly go on drawing it like this. Okay. Now inside each of the gaps, we are going to draw double lines and fill them. Okay, like this. Now when you're drawing in the adjacent one, make sure you're not drawing exactly below it. That's the mantra. You have to draw, you shouldn't draw just below it. Leave this gap, draw a double line, fill in the space. Okay, that's it. Here, draw your double lines, and fill in. So the last one is very simple. So just draw squares in whatever pattern or shape you have, then diagonally divide it like this. You can also straight divide like this, but just in case you have not used a scale and your squares are not exactly measured same, so this is the right way to do it. Okay, so once you have divided, draw vertical lines in the upper half and horizontal ones in the lower half. Vertical ones, horizontal ones in the lower half. Okay, so I'm actually holding my phone in the left hand and trying to do the rest of the thing. So okay, so this way. So it gives a very good finishing. Okay, and any space you can use this pattern for any particular filling. So I'll come back after finishing this. So this is how all the 10 patterns will look like. Okay, so now I will quickly show you what exactly you can do with these patterns. Okay, so you can basically take any motif like this. So those of you who are good at drawing, they can sketch it up. Those of you who are not so much into drawing, what you can do is you can just trace it or you can stencil it and then divide the motif into spaces like these, and in each space you can make one tangle pattern. Okay, and it gives a beautiful effect. So there won't be any coloring or anything. As it is, the black and white effect looks beautiful. But if you still want a colored effect, you can use the colored pens. So I've just drawn elephants. I've divided the elephants into different spaces, and each of the spaces has a different tangle pattern in it. Okay, so the same way you can see this one. So it's a plain paper. I had first drawn my fishes. So taking my fishes, I have drawn the circles, and then each of the spaces I had drawn different tangles. Okay, so these are very complicated ones. You don't have to worry. I'm just giving you an idea of how to use a tangle. So basically you can take any diagram for that matter and divide them into spaces and then make your patterns like this. So this is another one. So this is a simple like a semicircle what I have taken, and each of the circles that I have made has a different tangle to make a mandala. Okay, so I think these will give you an idea of how to go about these tangle patterns. I hope and you don't have to worry about the intricacy when you're doing it for the first time. You can make these same patterns a little with more gaps also. If the kids are trying, there's no need to make it so intricate. You can ask them to do the same pattern a little farther apart. Okay, that also will give you a beautiful effect. Okay, so that's it for the recorded session number 4 from Thoughts to Strokes by Rekha. I hope you guys will have fun tangling around in different patterns. Do let me know your feedback. Like, share and subscribe if you like and had fun watching the video. Thank you. Bye.